Hey everyone, it's Simone, and I'm here with Bella Crystal for another soul conversation. Today we are talking to the 44, one of my favorite gene keys. Bella, how can tell everybody what we're doing?
Hello, everybody. We're doing the 44, and this is one of my favorite gene keys, one of my favorite gates. I have it in my design Jupiter, which is also my sphere of culture. And for me, it's about understanding group dynamics and see how we can create a new world together, if I have to say it in one sentence. And I've also, when we posted it, we didn't open the door yet. Yeah, we just opened the door. But when I posted the copy in different Facebook groups, I got a lot of people commenting and saying this is so cool, like this. There's something so much in the time right now with synarchy, with teamwork, with not having the hierarchies of the old times, with not having the old kind of leadership. But there's something with this energy. So I'm super excited what can come through today. If you're on, whether you're feeling the 44 in the activations of the collective, or you have the 44, please ask questions. And even if you're not on, we're going to try to track it afterwards. I know that many people watch this live when it's not live because it's too late for Europe. So that's what I wanted to start with today.
Fantastic. Okay, everyone, let's see what the 44 has to say to us today. The way the energy starts out coming through is it's making a big energetic field around us, and then coming through the top of our head. It feels like a toroidal field where it's just expanding this energy out. It feels like this big felt like a welcoming hug, and then just coming straight through us and around. And then it kind of turns so that I can see from a different perspective, and it's showing me how it weaves with us together in love, in community, in divine timing. And it shows how when it turns to, so imagine a toroidal field, and we see the self, and then the toroidal field moves, and we see our communities that we're working together in. And the 44 is, it almost feels like a gathering of us, and a gathering of all of our energy. And it's coming through, and it's holding, not only is it holding the space for the community to work in, but it also shows me how it filters out the energy that is not in resonance with the community, the team, the group, the beings who are united. And it's kind of interesting. It feels like a process of working through what doesn't resonate, and how that kind of shakes out through that collective energy building. And the next thing I felt in my field was like, in my body was like, after it rains, how it feels like everything is washed clean. Maybe there was some dirt on your car, dust, and or on the streets, and it rains, and then it feels like everything feels clearer, cleaner, more transparent. So when it shows me that kind of filtering out of whatever the dissonance is, or whatever doesn't work in the group, it feels like it feels after a rain, and the sun is shining, and we see the sun reflected in all the water droplets, and everything just feels washed clear. And it wants you to know that with each of your gifts, and it's showing me that we're all designed differently. And when we're in the truth of our design, when we're in the transparency of our design, and we're if if we're emotional beings, is showing me how some people feel, and some people are clear, like almost like blank slates. But it doesn't matter what it is you're experiencing, but when you're in the truth of that vibration and you have the vulnerability, it almost shows me like vulnerability is the clarity that occurs after the rain comes down and clears everything out. It feels like that's how the 44 is showing me vulnerability, and really the courage to be that transparent with what is inside of you. And it's as much about recognizing that within the self as it is sharing it with others. And sometimes the 44 shows me just the recognition of whatever that is inside of you creates a clarity. So imagine those droplets of water after the rain when the sun comes out and the sun is shining in the droplet of water, so that when you have that recognition of whatever needs to be filtered out, and to really be vulnerable in the self, you become like the sun in a drop of water. So incredibly beautiful. And then it shows me that when the collective, when the group within the field is all at that place of vulnerability with each other, that transparency, that clarity, when we're all like the sun shining through the drops of water, that the field builds, that synarchy has energy. It's beyond the energy of any one person or being. So, I'm one person, you're another person. We might have 3 or 5 people in our synarchy, in our group, our community that we're working in. But when we are that transparent, what happens is the synarchy has exponential amount of energy, and it feeds and lifts us up and contributes to whatever it is the group is working on. So that's kind of encouragement for each of us to truly be clear and transparent and vulnerable in our communities with which we are working. Let's see what else the 44 has for us. And when we are in that space, so just imagine the totality of those images that came through. It's like we are able to open up our hearts even beyond the synarchy and the teamwork, the community that we're working in. We open up our hearts. It's like our synarchy opens up. We as a microcosm of the macrocosm opens up, and that lifts up the whole world. That example of synarchy opens up to the whole world. And the 44 is saying it doesn't matter if your synarchy is a couple, or 2 people, 3 people, 300 people, 500 people, 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, 66 people. It doesn't matter what the number is. It's the collective consciousness within the group, and the courage and the transparency within. And that's what the 44 wants to move us toward, is to hold the space within our collective, our community that we are experiencing this with. And when we have that full vibration through transparency, and we're all allowing our suns to shine through the water, the droplets of rain, that we really change the world. That it's almost like as our hearts open within our group that we are working with, our community that we're working with, when all of that happens, it's like our synarchy opens up to the world, and that kind of motivates, spurs, is the catalyst for other people to want to be in the energy of synarchy. And it's exponential in the way that it is showing me how it grows and it seeds synarchy in the world is so magnificent. Being you and changing the world just by being you and changing the world, so magnificent. Bella, do you want to come back in, and do you have any questions for the 44?
I mean, I love it. And I was taking notes, and I think that that's the thing with teamwork. If you are going to be a leader, you don't have to. I mean, it's good to be transparent, but it's almost like if you're there at the top, you can kind of do your own thing. But if you're going to work in a group, you're not going to get away with not being transparent. So it really felt, I felt the teamwork is really the main thing here, and that can only happen with vulnerability and transparency. So that's kind of what I felt like on that level. And then I was thinking about the culture sphere, because Richard actually puts this 44 in the culture sphere. And the culture sphere in our hologenetic profile, the way I understand it, is like this is how we show up on a daily basis in order for our lives to have prosperity and also to create prosperity for the world. So it's really kind of on a everyday basis how we show up. And that's interesting. I would like to hear a little bit more about the 44 in that sense of like, this is how we show up every day to create abundance, prosperity, equilibrium in the world.
Let's see what the 44 has to say. Well, it shows me that we really have to go deep within ourselves. So, in the part of the message that just came from before, I felt a lot of the energy moving from the heart, right? But the 44 shows we have to go deep, and like we go down into our root chakra and our connection to Gaia. So really grounded and really bringing our consciousness seated in the body, really connecting with our root centers and our creative abode, really going from the heart through the third, through the second, through the first, and then connecting to Gaia, really grounding in the lower chakras is a way to bring what you were asking about to fruition.
And the other thing that I was wondering about, and this is kind of my own inquiry, when I look at the new leadership, and I actually am thinking now I want to post a video an interview I did with Great Leadership, with a woman who created that with two other women. There is something with the 44 that for me has to do with the new leadership. Maybe we would say it's the 31. I think they're kind of together because we need teamwork and we need a leader who is kind of pulled out by the people and not who kind of goes up there and takes like the tyrannical leader who takes the power. So when I look at the new leadership, I'm seeing the 44 and I'm seeing the 45. The 45 is what we think about the tribal leadership, and a different kind of leadership that for me has more to do with that kind of the tribal and maybe more connected to the ego center and maybe a little bit more to the old leadership. But I feel like there's something when the 44 comes together with the 45. The 45 has to do with dominance, and it goes to synergy, and it goes to what is the highest frequency. I can't remember right now, but and then we have the teamwork and the synarchy. So synarchy, synergy, teamwork, and kind of coming together. And I'm wondering, and then I feel like the 46 as well has to do with it, which is the embodied leader work. So 44, 45, 46. I see that they are a trinity where we have the teamwork, the synarchy, we have more of like the voice of the ego in the 45 that kind of comes from the tribal that has to mature and come in together with the teamwork in the 44. And then the 46 is kind of the shell. It's like it has to be grounded in the 46, which is about embodiment and like loving to be here in physical form and actually being human. So I'm wondering this kind of braid of 44, 45, 46, if we could like speak about it and see what comes through.
The 44 says that synarchy is the most complex form of leadership because the leader has to be completely okay with and have the courage with change and what transforms and is birthed through the synarchy. And it takes a really nimble, flexible person to be able to lead in synarchy, because really it is the group leading, and that really is the most courageous kind of leader. And when you started talking about the Trinity and you got to the body part, the 44 was saying, this is what I was showing you with the question you asked before about really being embodied. And the 44 is saying, the thing I most want to say when you ask about this Trinity is that leadership in synarchy is the embodiment of the group consciousness. And so that is, why the person who actually becomes the voice of the synarchy requires integrity, courage, fearlessness, and there is, like, in a sense of a selflessness, because to be able to hold the group consciousness in your heart when maybe that's not what you really truly want to say, but to have the courage to be in that space with all the people who are bearing their hearts. And when the 44 shows me that, it's like the 44 is showing me all of our different designs in this group. And so, of course, we're all facets, right, of the thing that we're creating. And to be the leader of this beautiful gem that is so multifaceted requires you to not only be able to see through your own facet, but to be able to see through all the facets and realize the prism, the way the light, the beauty of the way the light shines when you have the courage to facilitate that, the consciousness of the synarchy as a whole. And again, the 44 is showing that it goes beyond just the people who are in the synarchy. It relates to the energy of the synarchy and the energy of all the people. So it takes great courage to lead in synarchy. And it's almost like there used to be a metaphor a long time ago about how ducks fly in the triangle, and one at a time, the duck gets in the front and then moves to the back, and another duck moves forward, and that the best form of leadership is teaching every duck in the group to be the duck flying at the beginning. And the 44 is saying it's a little bit different than that, but that community consciousness of allowing the group consciousness to speak through you takes integrity. It takes humbleness, and intimacy and transparency and courage and fearlessness. And to understand as a leader that synarchy, the consciousness of the synarchy, is going to continue to move, to expand, to grow, whether you're the person who is voicing the consciousness of the synarchy or not.
Thank you, Simone. Yeah, I'm like kind of playing with the words here, and I'm like, just synergy, teamwork, and delight. What if that would be in the, every day in the culture sphere, every day when we are going to work, when we're going about our day, we have the teamwork, there's synergy in the teamwork, and then it's going to be a delight. And the culture sphere has to do with our work in the world. And that's kind of what I feel that it would be. And I mean, that's kind of what I feel, even when it's 7 o'clock in the evening and I work the whole day, when I meet with you, Simone, and with Ashley and with Tim, it is delight and it is teamwork, and it's always something unexpected, because that's part of the 44. And for me, I have it in line 3, so it's kind of playful and it likes team dynamics. And me, Simone, sometimes in the calls I'm like not even on camera, because that's kind of part of like how I'm facilitating in that call. And then in another call, I'm going to be like super knowing where I think we should go. So there's something with the dynamism of the group, I think, that the 44 is understanding. And then the highest frequency is then communion, synarchy, and ecstasy. And here it makes me think about the 59 and what Richard is saying, that the new kind of intimacy and transparency where we come together and where we are one. So that's the communion and ecstasy that happens when everybody's placed in the right place in that grid, which is the grid worker we're saying that we're working in. Then we are feeling the energy, and that's the ecstasy. That's the kind of that's the electricity of Mother Earth. That's the electricity of our Kundalini, and that's what becomes this grid. And when we are in a high frequency communing in that way, there is like all the possible timelines of like darkness and wherever. It's like it's almost not possible when we like when our antennas get turned on, and like you're saying, when we come together, 1 + 1 is more than 2, and 10,000 + 10,000 are, so it's like so much.
The 44 got so delighted when you brought in the 59, and it literally the word delighted popped out of the 44, and but also and the delight when all of the keys come into the synarchy, that we need all 64. And when you were saying about recognizing and valuing each one, the 44 was going to all of the other keys and recognizing that they each have a part of the delight and that unexpectedness of what comes out. It takes real flexibility. And I love that you brought up our team meetings, because if ever one of us comes expecting something to happen, we're going to be totally blown away, because it's really about being in the flow of the moment of what needs to bloom in that moment, which takes courage, it takes patience, it takes delight in the magic of it all, and that can be hard when you have a fixation on what you feel like is supposed to happen. But the 44 is just really delighted that you brought in the other keys to this discussion. Yeah.
And I guess we have like maximum 10 minutes left. So if you have the 44, if you have questions, please, now is the time to ask us the questions and or to comment. This was kind of interesting, like, for activation, the 44, the 45, and the 56, the cross of rulership, and a 1 for projector. Like, you are the empowered guide that is here to feel the synarchy and to see the geometry, I would say. It would be, I don't know if you did go in and read the 64 doors for the 44. It would be so cool to have your comments on it, or even maybe something that we could add that you wrote, because you kind of you are this thing embodied, it feels like.
I just love that it's 555 where I am right now as we're doing this, and all I was seeing was freedom. Synarchy is freedom. Which, and truly, synarchy is freedom, right? So, yeah. I am just taken away by that. Let's see what else the 44 has to say. The 44 is saying it's pretty complete, but it loves our expressions of synarchy. That there are infinite expressions of synarchy. There's not one way. As many, imagine, all the different designs in different synarchies. It's like there's no synarchy that's the same. It's almost like each one is a snowflake. So it delights in all the variations of synarchy that are available, that we have the capacity for.
This is interesting. So Terry was writing about having the cross of the four ways, and then what I understand is that your son has the same, and this is kind of that geometry that we see. That I just had a live reading right before this, and I was like kind of becoming confused behind the scenes. I'm like, how this is the same chart? Did I write the wrong name? But I didn't make the charts. The people sent me the charts, and I took one from one group and one from the other. And basically, two people born in different parts of the world, one in the morning and one at night. And the charts were exactly the same except from the moon. But so there's a geometry, and I think that's what the 44 is speaking about, the solar fractal, or like the flower of life, or like the Fibonacci, like all these different geometries that have a sense. Like it's not a coincidence. There's an intelligence in that. And if you have a parent and a child with the same, like my mom and I, we have the 7 and the 13. Like it's my soul, you could say. It's my radiance and purpose, and it's her life's work and evolution. So there's some communication between my role and her soul, all the time. So it's beautiful, and it's special. It's not unusual, but it's very special.
I love those. I looked at all of my family's charts, my sons and my grandchildren, my husband, my and my parents, and it is so interesting to see. Like, one of the ones that I most love is my two sons. My youngest son's children came in with the exact opposite of my oldest son's chart. So he's not finished playing with that dynamic. So he got some from his brother. Now he wants to play with some more with that, and engage with that energy. And we were all somehow connected. Like the connections abounded, and I love looking at that kind of thing. Thanks for sharing that with us, Terry.
Let's see. I just want to bring up this one. So just a short thing. It's that. So I have worked with so many people, and actually more men than women lately, that had a 44 in Pluto. And everybody I worked with was born in 88. So it's like Pluto takes a long time. But if you have it both in unconscious and conscious, is that time. And for me, it is kind of transforming the way we come together and finding your soul fractal. And that's going to kind of take, it's going to take a while. It's Pluto, and it's also, it's part of what you're highlighting in the collective unconscious. So I feel with that 44 in Pluto, you are a generation that are here to both find your own soul fractal, but also kind of doing it for the evolution of the collective. That's how I would, in just a couple of sentences, speak to that 44. Oh, Simone, I had muted you. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to see if the 44 had anything to say about placement in Pluto, since that was an interesting question. Nothing, it's just the 44 said what it brought through, the message that it wanted to bring through. So.
Okay, well, I think we are. Yeah, there are more people on. Yeah, Tiffany also has it, and yeah, that's what's going on.
It does say go deep. The 44s, if you have it says go deep. That's the message. Go deep.
And maybe are going to resonate with other people with the 44, because I know that with Tim and Ashley and Simone, we all have it in different parts, and it's kind of important where we have it, all of us. So it's almost like that 44 kind of finds other 44s as well. Maybe, I don't know, you kind of have to do your own experiment with that. But yeah, I think we're good. Do you want to close with anything, Simone?
No, this feels super complete, and the 44 is just patiently waiting, and there's nothing else coming through. So I'm going to call it. It feels complete. So thanks for joining us.